Hello everybody, today what we're going to be doing is talking about Captain Marvel. I got Captain Marvel to level 100 and I've been using her a little bit. Let me put it this way. I have two opinions of this character. I think she is clunky and unfun to play, and then she becomes less clunky and very high damage and fairly enjoyable to play at a higher end PvE. She is one of the characters in the game that me personally went from absolutely hating her to seeing where she fits in with the team and liking her role on the team. I don't think that Captain Marvel is a character that I would play first. I feel like Captain Marvel is a character, and I'm going to go into my details as why, and we'll show you the skills and stuff, but Captain Marvel feels like somebody I would play like third, fourth, fifth, maybe even last in your progression through the characters. I think she needs a lot of power, gear, know-how, and honestly, gold to get the skills up. She's somebody that has really high single target DPS due to some of her laser type of beams she has, and she also has two type of modes of playing. Let's look at the skills for a moment. So if we go and we actually look at the skills, I'm going to show you the ones that I have on her now. I've got a stamina drain one that shoots beams around, and what that does is it allows you to drain the damage from other people as well as give yourself some stamina. I've then got a move that allows her to kind of go zapping around, do some AoE damage, and will jump on top of them for AoE. That's my one that gets in on top of them. My favorite move for her by far is this beam. Now, even though it's not maxed leveled, it does over 2,500% single target damage continually. And you can build skills towards that. You can build the Photon Blast here is the one I'm talking about. You can build costumes towards this. You can build, specialties, all of that. And you can get this single target blast to really ramp up to some pretty crazy damage. If you see here, just for the next level, it goes up 100% damage just in one next level. So it ramps up more and more and more and more and more. Now, she also is somebody that has decreased defense and pretty good defense pierce built into her enhanced potentials as well. Defense piercing is something that's pretty good in PvE, where the creatures are going to start stacking more and more and more defense and more health, etc., and you're really looking for that. She does have what I would consider a slow leveling experience up to around level 60 to 70, and then she starts getting moves that are going to allow her to much more easily clear AoE mobs, which will allow her to farm easier. She's also does a pretty good job fighting through the bosses because she has plenty of long range moves as long as many single target moves as well. I want to show you in particular what I did when I was leveling her. Here you go. I have the purple costume that was 2,000 gems just to try it out, and I moved over my other badges onto it. She also, as far as my cards go, I want to show you where I'm at for cards when I was leveling her. Oh, that's card storage. Let's go to my actual card. I still mess up the UI system a lot. So I just have some kind of average cards here that I got from leveling the character, etc. But I had this one, and I had this one, and then I had blue cards, and these ones I got from hitting the level 100. So I haven't had ridiculous gear on her, but I've noticed that my damage has been actually fairly high. Now, there's some issues I have with her in PvP, because in PvP, if people dodge like your beam, that's a huge chunk of your damage, and she doesn't have these gigantic, quick cast AoEs or anything where you can clear people out in Omega War. She's more of a single target, focused type of person to burst down one type of guy, and I like that a lot, but in PvP, it seems to me that you really are a little bit at a disadvantage because of the way her ultimate ability works. So if you look at her ultimate ability, what it effectively does is an AoE and blocks debuffs from happening to her, increases her attack. But if you look at some of the other moves that she has here, increases the duration of self-grounded buffs, which again, you grant yourself from your ults. You're like, okay, I can buff myself up. When critically damaged, become invincible for 2 seconds, restore 3.5% of HP, which this again, all this goes up with the battle skill timing, and it has a cooldown time of 600 seconds as well. And all of that goes either up or down depending upon what's beneficial as you level the traits. You can see there's some pretty hilarious survivability types of moves like dodging gauge, recovers your dodge gauge, when you're using light speed. So there is not iframes built into it, but she has a lot of recovery type of mechanics directly built into her. So look at this one, for instance, recoveries HP by 3.3% when using an escape skill. Look at this one. When a superhuman strength type skill is used to restore your guard gauge. You can see she has a lot of continual like sort of self-healing, self-replication type of stuff, giving yourself back your stats you need. Look at this one, decreases damage received when your HP is below a certain percent. She has pretty good specialization, so which is another reason why I think she gets better as the game goes on, because later on in the game is when those specializations are really going to matter the most as you start getting into things like in-game PvE, Dark Zone, etc. So here we have increases ultimate skill gauge recovery by 5% when HP is 50% or higher. This is probably one of the most important ones because your ultimate skill gauge recovery is where you're going to get a large amount of your gigantic AoE damage because she has a really big bursting AoE. And then the attack up stacks with like your potions attack up, for instance. So you can get like a double attack up bonus, which then you can use on your beam to do even more damage, which is part of the reason you want the ultimate skill gauge as well as, where is it? You want the ultimate skill gauge as well as this one, which increases the duration of your self-granted buffs with the attack. So that way you have your attack lasting longer. So she has a lot of really good moves, increases attack when the battle lasts for a longer amount of time, so you get even more damage. You can see she ramps up. She's an overtime type of character, which is, again, I think more suited to long-term PvE battles, which I think means as longer-term PvE, maybe like raids, bigger raids and stuff come to the game, we're going to be seeing her being used more and more. I think she's somebody that's going to scale very well going into further content, and I think is a little outshined at the moment when there's only a few characters and PvP so heavy in the game. People like Black Widow are really performing, and Spider-Man are really performing. So you can see that the fact that you have a constant decrease in the skill cooldowns is wonderful. Also, really huge fan of this one here. Look, increases attack when flying, but defense when landed. So you get some bonus stats as well there. So if you have like air to surface damage or something like that, you could run this and maybe do an air to surface build, for instance. So there's a lot of ways to do it. Huge fan of this character. Personally, if you're thinking about building her, I don't know if I would do her as your first character. I think she, like I've said previously, is going to scale well with gear, is going to scale well with specializations, it's going to scale well with knowledge. When you actually look at her skills itself, there is some moves that seem really, really good, but then you change it, now it just does a fan beam of like 433%. So you probably want to look through the character and really figure out what you want. Some of these moves are completely different than the others. So like this one, for instance, does 388%. And then what it does is it knocks people up with high guard break. But this other one here is low guard break, which continually drops AoE, sort of like a blizzard rain type of thing, which is a totally different type of move than the other one that does just an AoE burst around her. You can see that for that reason. Also, this one here I like a lot. It's a big AoE Saphir that goes down, does a big chunk of AoE, but you can also focus the Saphir to target a single target person too. So you can change this like this and then be like, okay, I'd rather have this one. And now her single target damage is significantly higher than it was previously. And you can combine that with the Photon Blast plus her ultimate skill, ultimate, in order to really nuke down one person at a time. So you probably want cooldown reduction, ultimate skill gauge recovery, and that's probably the type of build you'd want to go for on her. I'm assuming Defense Pierce would be a pretty decent option, as if you go to Enhance here as well, you can see there's stamina recovery. I went with all the normal stats here. Then you have stamina recovery. Check this out, guard damage decrease, but also Defense Pierce is the one I'd be focusing on here. Then Defense Pierce and stamina recovery. Again, both of stamina recovery and Defense Pierce are very good for her. I think stamina is slightly better, so I'm slightly maxing out that one. I just need one more to max out the stamina recovery. And that should be good enough to help you with your stamina, so that way you can focus on other stats. Now, the last little bit I want to say about her is, if you're wondering, what gear and costumes you want to build on her, I think it depends upon what exactly type of build you're doing itself. But personally, I would want stuff that increases my photon skill, the single target type of skills. So if we actually go, and let's go to costumes here for a moment, we look at it. Let's see, the Savage one's going to be your PvE set because you got Defense Pierce, Supervillain damage, but then it's the Light Speed, Movement Speed, which isn't as much for the Photons, right? Then Superhuman Strength is going to be the ones that you zap around the map, etc. Then you have the Cosmic Energy, and Cosmic Energy is going to be what you're actually looking for, as Cosmic Energy itself is going to be anything that's related to like the big beams, blasting down, stuff like that. And then you can also probably do the Carol Corpse one, which is, I think this is the one you get for $3.99, which will help you through the beginning of it, the beginning of the game. The one you get for the 2,000 gems is okay, which is this one here. I got this one for the 2,000 gems, and it gives you that single target one that replaces the big ball that I showed you earlier, the Photon Buster. So that's my opinion of her. I think she is actually good, but I think she's going to be good later in the game and scale as the game goes on. And she feels like she needs one more move in her kit, which is a way to jump away from somebody. If they add that, and as the game goes on, I think she's actually going to be quite good. And I think her damage ramps up and up and up, and it's more exponential. So it's like reverse diminishing returns, if that makes sense. The higher and better she gets, the more and more she's ramping up. So if that sounds good for you, then you're going to want to pick this character. That being said, I love you all. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing, liking, or leaving a comment to let me know what you enjoyed about it. I love you all, and have a wonderful day.